I canceled the Mother's Day celebration I planned for my wife after what she told my son. I'm 37, have a 13-year-old son, and I was a widower when I met my current wife. She has a 16-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. We've been married for 3 years, and for the most part, things between the kids are okay. There's no fighting or drama, but they're not exactly close either. My son's always been quiet. He likes his space, keeps to himself, and doesn't really vibe with loud family gatherings or being pushed into small talk. My wife and her daughter are the exact opposite. Loud, outgoing, always pushing him to open up and be more sociable. I've had to talk to them about it more than once. He's not broken. He's just introverted. They said they understood, promised they'd stop forcing it. I took them at their word. Fast forward to this Mother's Day. I planned a full celebration. I booked a nice restaurant, invited my wife's extended family, made sure everything was arranged perfectly. I even picked up a custom cake, had the staff in on the surprise, the whole deal. My stepdaughter caught wind of it and told my wife in advance, which kind of blew the surprise, but I rolled with it. She seemed excited, so whatever. The day before the celebration, I got off work early and stopped by the house to grab something before heading out to finalize the restaurant stuff. I had my keys and came through the front door quietly. That's when I heard my wife and stepdaughter in the living room. My son was there too, and they were talking about the dinner. I didn't mean to eavesdrop at first, but then I caught my wife asking my son to convince me to let him stay home from the dinner. She said his socially inept, introverted attitude would make her family uncomfortable and ruin the mood. He told her he'd be on his best behavior. Said he'd try to talk and be friendly, but she didn't budge. She just kept saying it wasn't believable. Then came the part that made my blood boil. She said, "Technically, I'm not even your mom, so I don't get why you're trying so hard to be involved anyway." Her daughter laughed and said something nasty, but I was too focused on my son's face. He didn't say anything after that, just stared at the floor. Then they noticed me. I stepped into the room, told both kids to go upstairs. Then I looked at my wife and told her the celebration was off. Not postponed, canceled. She immediately started questioning me, asking what I meant. Why? What she was supposed to tell her family. I laid it out word for word what I heard. How she humiliated my son in our own house. She tried to spin it. Claimed I only heard part of the conversation. Said she didn't mean it like that. I told her I heard enough and I wasn't going to argue with her. She lost her mind, screaming that I was making a huge mistake and ruining her Mother's Day. I walked away and went straight to the restaurant to cancel the reservation. She kept going, storming around the house, slamming doors, accusing me of choosing sides. I didn't even respond. That night, she packed a bag, grabbed her daughter, and left to go stay with her parents. Next morning, radio silence. No calls, no texts. Not even a message to ask how the kid she just verbally trashed was doing. Nothing. My son didn't say much either. I just sat down beside him, asked if he was okay. He gave a shrug. That quiet kind of heartbreak you don't need words to recognize. I told him I was proud of him and that I'd always have his back. He nodded and said, "Thanks." That was enough. Later that week, my wife's family started calling. One of her cousins messaged me saying, "I overreacted. I'm 37. I have a 13-year-old son from my first marriage. His mother, my high school sweetheart, passed away in a car accident when he was just 5. It was the kind of grief that makes the world go quiet. For years, it was just me and him. We figured things out together, slowly, painfully, but we did. 3 years ago, I remarried. My wife, Megan, has a 16-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. She's vibrant, outgoing, always talking a mile a minute. Honestly, her energy reminded me of someone I used to be before I knew what real grief felt like. My son is the opposite. He's quiet, thoughtful. The kind of kid who reads the room before speaking and has always been more comfortable with books than with people. From the beginning, there was tension, not shouting or fights, just distance. My wife and her daughter didn't get him. They thought he was shy at first, maybe even a little rude. I explained, he's not being rude. He's just introverted. He needs space, especially around loud, chaotic energy, Megan promised. She understood. We'll meet him where he is, she said. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe that for a while. Things seemed okay. My son mostly kept to himself, and Megan and her daughter did their thing. We had dinner together, went on trips, even celebrated holidays with some harmony. But there was always this undercurrent, like he didn't quite belong in the world they wanted our house to be. Then came Mother's Day. I went all out this year. Megan loves big gestures, and I wanted to show her that even in a blended family, her role as a mother is seen and appreciated. I made a reservation at her favorite restaurant, a beautiful place by the lake. I ordered a custom cake with her name piped in elegant icing. I arranged flowers, invited her family, and even looped in the restaurant staff for a surprise entrance. My son was hesitant, but he agreed to go. He knows what this day means, not just to her, but to me. He wanted to show up for the sake of the family. That meant everything to me. The day before the celebration, I got off work early and came home to grab my wallet before heading to the restaurant to confirm the final details. I entered quietly really, and heard voices from the living room. Megan, her daughter, and my son. They were talking about the dinner. At first, I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I just froze when I heard Megan say, "I think it would be better if you stayed home tomorrow. You just make people uncomfortable sometimes, and I don't want my family judging me." My son's voice was soft. "I can try harder. I'll be friendly, I promise." But Megan wasn't moved. "Sweetheart, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's not believable. You don't have to come. I mean, technically, I'm not even your mom, so I don't get why you're trying so hard to be involved anyway." Her daughter laughed. "Yeah, like it's not your holiday." I watched my son's face fall. He didn't argue, didn't cry. He just stared at the floor like he was trying to disappear into it. That quiet kind of heartbreak that doesn't come with words, just silence. Then they saw me. I stepped into the room and asked the kids to go upstairs. My wife's smile dropped the moment she saw my expression. "What's wrong?" she asked. I kept my voice even. "The celebration is off." She blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean the dinner, the cake, the reservations, everything. Canceled." "Why?" I didn't yell. I didn't raise my voice. I just repeated back what I'd heard, every word. Word for word, she tried to spin it. Said I'd misunderstood. Claimed she was trying to protect him, that it was for his sake, not hers. That I hadn't heard the full context, but I had. I heard enough, more than enough. "You humiliated him. You made him feel like a guest in his own home." She lost it. Slammed a drawer, threw up her hands. "You're ruining Mother's Day. Over one comment? You're choosing him over me. I'm choosing respect. I'm choosing my son." She stormed upstairs, slammed doors, ranted about how I was making a huge mistake. That night, she packed a bag, grabbed her daughter, and left to stay with her parents. She didn't even text the next morning. No message to ask how the kid she just emotionally cut down was doing. Nothing. My son and I sat at the kitchen table. I made waffles like it was a normal Sunday. He didn't say much, but when I asked if he was okay, he shrugged. That soft, hollow shrug that speaks louder than any outburst. "I'm proud of you," I told him, "and I will always, always have your back." He nodded. "Thanks." That was enough. A few days later, the messages started rolling in. Her cousin texted me, said I overreacted, that Megan was just stressed, that I should have given her the benefit of the doubt. Her mom called, left a voicemail saying I was breaking the family over a misunderstanding, but none of them asked how my son was doing. Not one of them checked on the boy who got told he wasn't really part of the family. So no, I don't think I overreacted. I think, for once, I reacted. Exactly right, because if I don't stand up for my son, who will? And if Mother's Day means making a child feel invisible, maybe that celebration was never really about motherhood in the first place. Story 2. The plastic fork snapped in my hand. I was standing under the oak tree behind my aunt's house, half shaded, half burning in the July sun, and trying not to show it. The tremor in my fingers, the heat crawling up my neck, the sting right behind my eyes. My cousin looked away as soon as he said it, pretending to fiddle with a napkin dispenser. There were 3 tables piled with food. One had fried chicken, 2 kinds. Another had grilled corn, potato salad, ribs. A third was drinks, sodas, beer, sweet tea, sweating through glass pictures. There were plenty of chairs, plenty of laughter, but not a single plate with my name. "We just didn't expect you," my aunt added too cheerfully. "Thought maybe you were working." Working. Yeah, that's the story they always tell themselves. I'm too busy, too tired, too quiet. Never mind that I was the one who reserved the park shelter for last month's 4th of July, that I was the one paying the utilities for the family plan, that I sent my dad $50 just last week when he said his pension check was late again. I stared at my soda. It felt heavier than it should. I set it down real slow next to the unopened mustard. Then I turned and walked away. No yelling, no seeing. Not this time, because I knew something they didn't. That night back home, I opened the propane management app. They were still all on the shared account, the one I funded every month, the one that kept the gas tank filled behind Aunt Sheila's house. I tapped the toggle, pause service. By morning, the group chat lit up like fireworks. 8:42 a.m. The grill won't turn on. No gas. What is happening? I replied with 2 words, adjusted for attendance. They thought that would be the end of it. But that morning, my dad showed up with a gas tank in the back of his truck. He didn't say anything at first, just rolled it out and hooked it up like a man on a mission. What shocked them wasn't the grill. It was what he said next. The words that made my cousin's face pale and my aunt. "Drop her coffee, but we'll get there." Because before that moment, you need to understand how we got here and how long I let them treat me like a background character in a story I was bankrolling. My name's Andre. I'm 33, single, and until recently, the financial glue holding my family together. Not that they ever said thank you. I work in HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. It's not glamorous, but it's solid work. Good money if you're certified, especially during peak seasons. Summers in Georgia are brutal. Winters, too. People need their systems running. That's where I come in, built a little side hustle doing smart thermostats, energy audits, and propane contract management. Started managing the shared propane supply at my aunt's house 2 years ago just to help out. At first, it was simple. They'd throw family BBQs every other month, and I'd make sure there was always enough gas for the grill. I covered the costs, figuring it's just one bill. What's $60 a month? Except it wasn't one bill. Soon, it was the streaming account, too. "Andre, can you just add us to your Netflix? You already have the family plan, right?" Then it was the Wi-Fi extender I paid for because the kids couldn't do homework in the back room. Then my cousin Darren asked if he could just put his car insurance on my account for a month that turned into 6. Little by little, I became the invisible sponsor of their lifestyle. And it wasn't just money, it was favors. Constant, relentless favors. Can you pick up Nana's medication on the way home? Hey, our AC's rattling again? Can you swing by after work? My friend's boyfriend needs help installing a smart thermostat. I told him you'd do it for cheap. Every time I said yes, because that's what they'd raised me to do. My dad's mantra growing up. Oh, family first, no matter what. Except family first really meant Andre last. I didn't notice how deep I was in until this past winter. It was December, and Aunt Sheila called me in the middle of a job, said their heat went out, the kids were cold. She sounded genuinely panicked. So, I left the job site, drove 30 minutes out of my way, and spent my evening replacing a broken igniter in their furnace. No charge, didn't even eat dinner. The next day, I found out they'd thrown a Christmas party without inviting me. Darren posted the photos on Instagram, matching pajamas, hot chocolate, gifts piled to the ceiling. Family means everything was the caption. My name wasn't even mentioned. When I confronted Aunt Sheila about it, she waved it off. Oh, Andre, we thought you were working. You always say how busy you are. Busy, right? That word again. That night, I stared at my ceiling fan for 2 hours. I should have felt angry. Instead, I just felt tired. But the final straw, the moment the quiet resentment started boiling over, came 3 weeks before that infamous barbecue. It was Darren again. He texted me one afternoon. Okay, yo, can you front me $200 for gas and groceries? Just for a week or two till my girl's paycheck clears. I ignored it. 0.10 minutes later, he sent another message. NVM, just pause that propane if it's too much, we'll figure it out. That's when I realized something. They didn't see it as generosity, they saw it as obligation. To them, I wasn't Andre. I was the cousin with the good job, the utility plug, the fallback plan. They never asked if I was okay, never noticed when I skipped to BBQs in a row last year because I was recovering from a busted ankle. Never said anything when I paid for Nana's medication out of pocket after her insurance lapsed. When I stopped showing up, they didn't call. When I kept paying, they didn't thank me. They'd been eating off my plate for years and had the audacity to pretend like they were doing me a favor by letting me be part of it. So, when the invitation for the barbecue showed up, a mass text with, "Let us know if you're coming" at the bottom. I didn't respond. I just showed up, and that's when Aunt Sheila said it. Oh, we didn't know you were still on the list. That sentence echoed in my head for hours. Still on the list? Still like I was some outdated item on a spreadsheet they forgot to delete. Like my presence required justification. Like I hadn't paid for the very gas fueling the grill they were standing around when they said it. And that's when I made a decision. No more utilities. No more favors. No more anonymous generosity. If they were going to treat me like an outsider, I was going to act like one the morning after the barbecue. I opened the propane management app, toggled the account, paused service. At 8:42 a.m., the first message came in, then another, then a flurry. The grill won't turn on. No gas. What is happening? I replied calmly. I adjusted for attendance. Short, clean, no drama. That would have been enough, except my dad showed up. With a full propane tank, with his truck, with a look I hadn't seen on his face in a long time. He said one sentence and the entire family dynamic cracked open like a fault line. But we'll get there, because first you need to understand what my dad used to say about loyalty and how betrayal can wear a smile. My dad pulled up like he was riding into battle. Oversized Ford, windows down, radio blaring, some classic Earth, Wind and Fire, the kind he always played during cookouts, like it was part of the ritual. Except this time, there was no laughter, no grill smoke in the air. Just the dead silence of a family standing around cold ribs and unopened buns. The tank clanged when he dropped it out the truck bed. Problemo solved. He grunted, hauling it toward the patio like some savior. But when he saw me sitting on the tailgate of my own truck, watching the scene unfold with a soda in hand, he stopped. "Ain't you going to help me hook this up?" he asked, eyeing me like I was supposed to jump to attention. I didn't move. Aunt. Sheila coughed into her fist. My cousin Darren shuffled behind the cooler. His girlfriend looked down at her phone, suddenly deeply invested in scrolling. Dad frowned. "Andre, come on now. Don't make this a thing, a thing." I repeated, calm, even. "What kind of thing?" He scratched the back of his neck. "It's a misunderstanding. We didn't know you were coming. That's all." "That's not all," I said. "That's never all." He narrowed his eyes, reading me like he used to when I was a kid, lying about breaking a window. "You being dramatic now." That broke something. I stood up slow, walked toward the tank, not to touch it, just to look. Then I glanced at everyone, staring at me like I just spit in the macaroni salad. I've paid for this tank every single month for 2 years. Not once did anyone ask if I needed help covering it. Not once did someone say, "Hey Andre, thanks for keeping the BBQs going." I did it without asking for anything, and now I'm dramatic. Darren piped up, half laughing. "Man, it's just gas. Is this really all because of one plate?" I turned so fast, he actually flinched. "You think this is about one plate?" I asked, stepping toward him. "I paid your car insurance for 6 months, Darren. You said it was just a favor. Then I found out you bought Yeezys the same week I covered your deductible." He blinked. "I was going to pay you back. You never did." I cut him off. Same with the Netflix account. The streaming bundle. The groceries I bought after Aunt Sheila said the fridge was empty. Sheila stiffened. "Now hold on." "No, you hold on." Snapped. "Every time I've helped this family, it's been just one more thing. And every time I needed something, crickets." Dad stepped in, then trying to do damage control. "Son, it's not about money. It's about showing up for each other." "Then where?" "Were y'all when I was out of work for 6 weeks after that job site injury?" I asked. "You knew. I told you." "Did anyone bring food, check in? Even a call?" No one said a word. I looked at my dad. 3 weeks ago, you borrowed $50 to cover a prescription. Said you'd send it back Friday. Never did. But you got a new fishing rod last weekend, didn't you?" His jaw clenched. "Look," he said. "Sometimes folks fall behind. You know that you're the one with a stable job. And that makes me, what, Dad?" I asked. The family ATM. A beat of silence. Then he said the worst possible thing. "You always been the reliable one." Reliable? That word. It landed like a gravity. Reliable meant invisible, disposable, expected to carry the load without complaint. Reliable was the word they used to excuse taking from me without giving anything back. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a folded envelope, and held it up. "This is the final utility bill," I said. I paid it, and then I closed the account permanently. Darren's mouth opened. Aunt Sheila gasped. My dad looked like he wanted to speak, but couldn't find the words. I kept going. "I'm done," I said simply. "No more bills, no more favors, no more helping hands that get slapped away the moment they ask for a seat at the table." My dad's face hardened. "So, you're just going to abandon us over a cookout?" "No," I said. "I'm walking away from a pattern. One where I give and all of you take without gratitude, without respect." Sheila stepped forward, her voice sugary. "Andre, honey, you know we love you." I laughed. Funny way of showing it. I said, "Love doesn't forget you exist until it needs something." Darren scoffed. "So what now? You just going to ghost the whole family?" I met his eyes. "No," I said. I'm just setting the same boundaries you set for me. Like I'm not part of this unless I'm useful. And with that, I turned, climbed into my truck, and shut the door. As I backed out, I saw Aunt Sheila's mouth moving in the rearview mirror. Saw my dad looking down at the propane tank like it had betrayed him. But I didn't stop. I didn't even hesitate because for once I wasn't walking away with guilt. I was walking away free. The next morning I woke up to silence. Not the kind that's empty. The kind that's peaceful. No buzzing phone. No group chats blowing up. No passive-aggressive memes from my cousin Darren about family values. Just the sound of my ceiling fans spinning and the faint noise of birds outside. It was a Monday. Normally, I'd be checking propane usage stats before 9 a.m., calculating refill thresholds and sending payment confirmations. Instead, I made myself breakfast, bacon, eggs, and toast, and ate it slowly, savoring every bite like it was something I hadn't earned by working myself half to death. I didn't realize how much noise they'd filled my life with until it stopped. That week, I worked like I hadn't in months. Hit all my appointments early, installed a new smart ductless system for a client who tipped me $200 in cash, fixed a leaking unit in a downtown bistro, and got free lunch as a thank you. I even started sleeping better. No more 2 a.m. texts from Aunt Sheila asking if I could look at the pilot light again. No more chasing Darren for late payments. No more gasping silence on the other end of the line when I dared to say I'm short this month. It was like detoxing from a toxin I hadn't known I was drinking every day. But the call started again by Friday. First, it was Dad left a voicemail. "Son, we got to talk. I didn't mean what I said. You know, we're just used to you being around." Then Aunt Sheila, chipper and saccharine. "Baby, I think we all just got caught up in the moment. Don't let this tear us apart. Let's have a sit down." Then Darren, brr. That was petty as hell. "You going to come get Nana for a checkup like you said, or what?" I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I texted Nana directly, offered to book her an Uber and cover her appointment. She thanked me. Only her, always her. But the rest, I let the silence speak for me. That weekend, my best friend Jordan came over. We sat on the porch drinking beers, grilling on my tiny two-burner setup. He looked around, then smirked. "You know, it's kind of funny. You've been paying for their grill parties for 2 years. This might be your first one that's actually yours." I laughed. A real deep one. Ain't that something? I started reading again. Picked up a sci-fi novel I'd bought months ago and never cracked open. Took a weekend trip to Chattanooga, just because. Met a woman there. Carla, smart as hell, works in solar infrastructure. We've been texting. By mid-July, Aunt Sheila posted a photo of a new grill. Caption, "Starting fresh." But I knew what it meant. Starting over without me. Fine by me. What surprised me most was my dad. One morning, 2 weeks later, I opened my front door to find a propane tank full. Clean, with a note taped to the top. "I didn't realize how much you did." I do now. Sorry, I didn't say it sooner. Dad, no call, no lecture, just that. I stood there for a long minute rereading it. Then I rolled the tank to the side of the house and went back inside. Didn't text, didn't call. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood. Forgiveness doesn't mean returning to being the family safety net. It means healing for yourself, and I was healing. The next time Darren called, I answered. He asked, "So, you done?" "Punishing us, man," I said. "Nah, I'm done repeating what hasn't worked." Then I hung up. Since then, I've seen them less. Aunt Sheila texted once to ask about reopening the propane account, just for the summer months. I replied with a smiley face, and nothing else. And you know what? They figured it out. Turns out when people are forced to manage their own mess, they somehow find a way. Who knew? It's been 3 months since that barbecue. The grass has grown back over the tire marks my dad left with his truck. The texts have mostly stopped. Even the group chat has gone quiet. No more mass invites. No more who's bringing what. No more blurry pics of paper plates piled with ribs I paid for. And for the first time in years, I can breathe. Really breathe. Not that shallow kind you do when you're bracing for the next phone call, the next request, the next guilt trip disguised as checking in. I've spent a lot of time alone lately. Not lonely, just alone on purpose. It's been good. I started hiking. Again, there's a trail about 30 minutes from my place, leads to this bluff that overlooks a lake. It's not fancy. No signs, no benches, just rocks and wind and silence. The first time I stood up there, right after the barbecue fallout, I remember looking out and thinking, this is mine. Not in the way a grill or a propane bill or a streaming password is mine. I mean, really mine. A space that belongs to me because I chose it. Because no one asked me to share it. Because it doesn't come with expectations, just presence. I started journaling. Not something I ever thought I'd do, but it helps. At first, it was just a list. Things I've paid for, dates, receipts, phone locks. But after a while, it turned into memories, feelings, questions. Why did I let it go on so long? Why did I confuse usefulness with love? Why did I believe that if I gave enough, they'd finally see me? The answer is simple. Because I wanted them to. I wanted to be seen. Wanted my father to say he was proud. Wanted Aunt Sheila to tell people I was family, not just the one who does the accounts. Wanted Darren to look at me and see someone worth more than a gas tank and a PIN number. But the truth is, I was never invisible. They saw me just fine. They saw exactly what I could give. They just didn't care to give back. And that's not love. That's extraction. You know what really stuck with me? Something my friend Jordan said. The night we grilled on my porch, he said, "You were the engine man the whole time. They just never gave you a steering wheel." That hit me because, yeah, I kept things moving, kept people fed, kept the lights on. I kept the show running from behind the curtain. Thinking maybe, just maybe, one day they'd invite me to center stage. But now I know if you have to beg for a seat at a table you paid to set, you're not at a table, you're at an auction. So I built my own table. It's quiet here, smaller, but everyone sitting at it knows how to say thank you. Nana still calls. We go to breakfast once a week now. No agenda. No errands. She tells me stories I've heard before, and I let her because she's the only one who ever said thank you without needing something. Sometimes she cries, says she didn't realize how hard I had it, that she thought I liked helping. I told her I did once, but not like that. I saw Darren last week at the gas station. He looked surprised to see me like I was a ghost. He tried to be casual. "Yo, you good?" I nodded. "Yeah, real good." He looked down. That whole barbecue thing, it got out of hand. I didn't respond. Just handed the cashier a 20 and left. I don't owe him my closure. I owed that to myself. A month ago, I got an unexpected message on LinkedIn of all places from a guy named Meech. Used to work with Darren's girlfriend's brother. Said he heard I did clean HVAC installs. Said his company was expanding and looking for subcontractors they could trust. That contract landed me my biggest client to date. So, while they were scrambling to get a new grill and split the propane bill 4 ways, I was onboarding a 6F figureer client and planning a solo trip to Costa Rica this winter. Life has a sense of humor. I'm not bitter anymore. I was for a long time, but that's like drinking poison and waiting for them to get sick. Now, I just shake my head. I feel bad for who I used to be. The version of me who thought loyalty meant self-sacrifice. Who thought being the reliable one was something noble. It's not. It's just camouflage for fear. Fear of being unloved. It's fear of being alone, fear of not being needed. But now I don't need to be needed. I need to be respected. I am. I'm respected by my clients, by my real friends, by the woman I've been seeing for the past month who brings me coffee without asking and actually listens when I talk about my day, by the dog I rescued, a mutt with one ear that flops and a bark that scares delivery guys but cuddles like a weighted blanket, and by me, that's the big one. I respect myself now for walking away, for not turning back, for not taking the bait when they tried to drag me back in. I used to think I had to earn peace. Turns out I just had to protect it. So here I am, a man who finally knows what it means to say, I'm not your gas tank. I'm not your silent servant. I'm a whole person.